Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar featuring Accela Asset Management. My name is Gary Zepke. I'm the VP of Solution Engineering. I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Animesh Urkula and Todd Henderson. Today, we're going to take you through the asset management system. So a couple quick things to talk about ahead of time. One of the things that, again, running an agency today is harder than ever, as we all know. You have higher constituent demands. Everybody wants that Amazon-like speed and experience when they're working within the system. Complex departments and silos where departments are not operating the same system and that disconnect within workflows and everything. And then on top of that, throw in all the regulatory burdens that are taking place throughout the organization. So today's strategic imperative is this. How can we modernize our agency? How can we cut through the complexity, reduce the departmental friction so that you can deliver a better experience, doing it faster, all without sacrificing integrity and safety? So today, what I want to show you is, again, you all have some portion of Accela now that you're using, and we want to hone in on the asset management today. So what we're looking at is let's enhance the investment that you're already making in Accela and expand on it. So with that, let's start off with how we're going to break today's down. We're going to walk you through three scenarios. Scenario one, we're going to take you through a street cut permit end to end. Next, we'll take you through a water main break work order. And then our final scenario three, will be mobile and reporting. So let's go ahead and get started with scenario one. Let's take a journey through the end-to-end process to really see how Accela Asset Management can streamline the process, help staff gain efficiencies, and accurately update the data for reporting. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Todd to take us through scenario one.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it. As I pull up our permits page, we're going to give your citizens and constituents access to apply for permits online. In this case, we're going to go, as Gary mentioned, to a street cut permit. So let's go through that process. I'm going to select street cut permit from my options and begin the process. I'm going to receive some information, high-level information here, as well as some instructions, but I want to get started by applying online. The system will give me an option to apply online to sign in, a username and password. I'll sign off on the information here and continue my application for a permit. I'm going to have an application name, so I'm going to have a street cut permit on Delaware Street. And then I can give me a location of work. Any of these red asterisks are required fields. So I'm going to do my street cut east of Curtis. And the purpose of my cuts are we're going to put in a new line. So I'm going to select how many cuts I'm going to have. And then I'm going to be able to zoom into my map to see exactly where I'm going to be doing this street cut. It will provide options here for my assets that are populating, in this case, the street segments. So I can choose my multi-select tool and select several assets. But in this case, I only want to select the asset I'm going to be doing the street cut on right here. So I've got visibility through GIS into all of the assets that are going to be involved with my particular street cut permit. I'm going to select my name from the account that I am the applicant. And then I'll continue my application. This gives me an opportunity now to upload documents. So I'm going to upload my street cut permit diagram that I'm going to have. So I've uploaded that, as well as any other required documentation that your agency has. So I'm going to designate what type of document it is and continue my application. I can review my information here, and if I need to make any kind of edit, I have the ability to do so here on the right side. Any information that's incorrect or needs to be corrected, I can do. Otherwise, I'm going to certify I am applying for a permit with the agency. I see my fees here have been calculated as we will use your fee schedules at your agency. And I've been notified of some conditions that are existing, as well as conditions of approval there at the bottom. So I can see everything that I need to see from an applicant standpoint to know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing and what requirements are listed by the agency. For now, I'm going to check out and pay my fees. I'm going to select my credit card on file, and this is simply a pass-through that will give me the ability to pay my fees here. So I'm going to select checkout and pay my fees. We can see that a record has been created with those fees. I can see my record here and be able to interact with it. Any information that's needed, I can be exposed to it right here. I can see my processing status, that we are just at the point of intake. So I know exactly what's going on at each stage. I also have the payments I've made, as well as the conditions and any other custom components you may want to add as the agency. So in this case, we can see there's that permit on Delaware Street that I'm going to be looking at for my street cut. And I'm now going to process this permit in the back office. The first page that can appear is a summary, and this is all configurable. And you will see on the left side, the left column here, I have all of my folders. Everything that I need for this particular permit is going to be housed right here. So I can see I've got my summary, which is a reflection of the application that was submitted, as well as things like the documents that were submitted. So we can see my street cut permit here, the drawing to verify that it is a street cut illustration here, where I'm going to be doing that. I've also got my GIS, but I'm going to process this through now and give the applicant the ability to secure that permit. So my first step is I'm going to intake the application, where I can review, look at the documents, make sure payments have been verified, etc. I'm going to say that plan review is required. Again, all these fields that you see are configurable, and we're going to take them through the application process. I'm notifying now the applicant that we are reviewing their plan, and we can approve it, send it back. In this case, we accept it, and we're ready to issue the permit. In this case, we're going to issue the permit to the applicant, and they can be starting on their work of that street cut permit. The permit will appear. We'll be able to notify the applicant that their application has been gone through, as well as their permit issued. So at this point, we have a situation where the permit has been issued and the work has commenced. During that time, a resident goes through near where the work is happening and notice that there's a water leak. So they're afraid there may be a water main break or some other kind of leak, and they know that they can submit that request through their city. So they're going to submit a service request. In this case, I can type a keyword and search for it, or have a list. In this case, I want to submit a water main break request. So now, as the citizen, I'm reporting that water main break, and I want to report this to the agency to let them know what I've seen and what's going on. It's going to give me the normal sign off like we did with the street cut permit, and we'll continue on through the application, and it will give my information. And then I can zoom in on the map to let the agency know exactly where I saw the leak and where I want to report this. So it was in the terrace here near the corner of Delaware and Curtis. So I'm going to report that there. It gives me lat long of the point. I'm going to select the date where I saw that issue, as well as the time. I can also indicate the severity of the leak, which is flowing, and just give a description if I want to, and let them know that there was a leak on Delaware near the sidewalk by the terrace. I also can add a picture if I like, so I can upload a picture of the particular water leak and let them know. I can take that on my device or submit it from my computer. It's going to ask me the type that it is, so I'm going to go ahead and let them know, and we'll continue on through. So at this point, I can continue my application. And again, just like we did on the permit, I can verify all of my information. And if I need to edit anything, I can select that from here. But for right now, I'm submitting this leak to the agency to let them know that I did see this leak and I want to submit this so that they can go out and check it. So at this point, just like we did before, it's going to give me a record, and I can keep apprised of the status of that record. And we can see that it was a leak near the sidewalk on Delaware, and I can see the intake step that I've submitted it to the city. So it's been verified. It's now in the agency's hands. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Gary.
Great. Thanks, Tom. So let's do a quick recap. So as you saw from the street cut permit, rapid, accurate street segment selections, quick pin drops for precise water main break reports, the one-click dashboard for permitting reviews, and that simplified back office for faster, consistent approvals. Let's move on to scenario number 2, where Animesh is going to walk us through a water main break work order. So let's see how the work order process allows for efficiency, accuracy through the entire workflow. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Animesh.
Thank you, Gary. So the water break complaint that Todd submitted shows up on the task dashboard. One-click access gives the staff access to the navigation and the summary and all the other documentation and details that the citizen may have been provided. Here, the staff can take a look at the summary. There's specific information about the date the leak was observed, the time it was observed, and also the incident severity. There's also documentation to the Documents tab to see if the citizen had provided any kind of photographs or videos that would tell us the severity of that leak at the time that the leak was observed. At this point, the staff has enough information to start looking at the water main, the complaint from a spatial perspective and maybe initiate a work order, right? So the GIS tab here shows the exact location of that complaint, and the GIS tab is going to now navigate the staff seamlessly into the map, where they can now start interacting with the map layers that are provided and be able to look at a spatial reference to that complaint. So there's several complaints that we have received. The green dots show all of those complaints within the system that are currently in status or have been completed. Here on the right, the staff has access to different GIS layers. Now, the system is consuming the GIS layers that you as an agency are publishing, whether those are parcel, address, non-parcel assets, whatever layers you have published, the system is now consuming those. The staff can interact with these layers and make them available, make them selectable if they choose to. We do know that this was a water line complaint, so the water line layer is available for the staff to select and make them visible on the map. So by turning on those layers, the staff can now really start interacting and zooming into the location and see if there is a water line right next to the location where the complaint was observed. So the blue lines that are highlighted here show the water lines right next to Delaware and Curtis, which was where the complaint was observed. By selecting that water line, the staff now can take several actions. The first thing the staff probably wants to do is start looking at any transactional or operational history that may have happened in that water line. So by looking at previous records and previous history, as you can see, there's several records and several operational transactions that have happened, including work orders in the past. Maybe there was a complaint that was already submitted, so it looks like it's a duplicate complaint. And it also looks like there's work that was done on this water line in the past. There's a layer here called as assets, and the asset layer allows the staff to run a a real-time query on all the open permits that are currently in the system. So when I ran that query, the system highlights the street segment on Delaware Street, which is the exact segment that Todd had earlier applied and issued a permit for. Now, using all of this information and spatial layers, the staff can now infer that this complaint and this water leak may have been developed due to the construction and excavation at the street for which the permit was issued. So at this point, the staff is now ready to initiate the work order. Now, by selecting the water line again, the pop-up allows them to create a new record. This gives them access to the work order template library. Within the Accela system, you do have access to several templates, several record types. And the one that the staff wants to look at is water main repair. Now, the system does come with all of these templates for you to easily select and choose the right template for the work order for the right asset. So the water main repair is the one that we want to select. And now the system is creating that work order and bringing in all the spatial and asset data into that work order, which makes it easy for the staff to identify the exact asset they want the repair to be done. Let's give this name. Water main break on Delaware. And by submitting it, we are now completing this work order or initiating the work order, and we are now ready to start putting in additional work order components into it. Now, the work order was initiated. We are now ready to start putting in additional components of the work order, such as assets, tasks, assignments, and parts, and finally issue this work order to the right field crew. One of the advantages of choosing the work order template is that it comes with standard assignments and tasks. Let's look at that too. Here on the asset page, the system has identified or taken the asset that was selected from the map. However, if the staff do want to look at an entire asset table, which the system comes with, the lookup tab here allows them to access the asset inventory that you currently have in the system. These fields and these search fields allow the staff to narrow down their results that they sometimes cannot do on a map. So by selecting asset group water and asset type water lines, the system is now going to filter that list with all the water lines that are currently in your inventory. On this list, the staff can look at multiple assets on the same screen. They can compare different assets, different asset sizes, and maybe even print this asset list if they do desire to do so. It also allows them to select multiple assets at the same time, which is probably a little difficult to do on the map, but there are selection tools that allow them to do multiple selects as well. So let's add 2 additional assets to this work order, right? So we selected the asset from the map, and now we're selecting 2 additional assets from the lookup table. So we added those assets. Now let's look at tasks. As I said, by choosing a work order template, the system is automatically putting in the standard tasks, the description of that task, and a standard or a default estimate for each one of that task. Now, this is one of the advantages that you get with the Accela work order template, that it brings in those default estimates and tasks types. If the staff do want to look at your task library by submitting it and by selecting that, the staff has access to all of the tasks that you can keep as a running list. You can scale, you can keep adding additional tasks to this library. And essentially what this allows the staff to do is find the task along with the description and any standard procedures and default estimates and select that to bring it into the work order. So the way this is organized is you have the task name, you have the description, clearly identifying what's expected by the field crew to do. And there's also a standard procedure, right? The standard procedure, whether it's safety or health or traffic control, you can identify those, and there's a default estimate. What I'd like to do is maybe add a new task. Let's call it site cleanup. And then we'll also give that an order, right? So the order is number 4, essentially saying that after all the repairs completed, we want the field crew to do a cleanup of that site. All right, so now we've added all the tasks that we want in the work order, starting from preparation, ending with site cleanup, along with the default estimates. The actuals are actually going to be modified or done by the field crew in when they're out in the field. The next thing we want to do here is assignment and costs. The system leverages a functionality called as cost groups, which basically allows the staff to create a group or a category of different resources and bring them into a cost group. The idea behind this is that we want to make it easy and efficient and one-click access for the staff to add multiple resources in a single click. So the cost group A that you're seeing on the screen has an equipment, 2 labor, and 1 vehicle. So you could add to this cost group. Again, allows you to simply select that cost group and bring it into the work order, right? So that's what the system has already done. Based on the work order template, we've identified that cost group A is all the resources that they may need. However, if the staff do think that add an additional resource, it could be a labor, equipment, fleet, or a third-party contractor, they can go to the cost type. Drop down is going to allow them to select the kind of resource that they want to add to the existing cost group. Now, in the previous screen, we added a task, which was a site cleanup. So maybe we want to add an extra pair of hands to do the site cleanup, right? So let's look at all the field crew that's available within the system, within the organization. So by selecting labor, these are all the field crews that we have available in the organization. Let's add Eric Toller. Let's have him go out for 8 hours, and let's have him start the day the repair is going to be completed, right? So let's do that on the 13th. So now we've added Eric as part of the extra pair of hands, an extra resource that the field crew may need to do the site clean after the repairs are completed. Right, so we've added resources, we've added tasks. The last thing probably want to do is add parts. Now, any repair that's going to be done on streets or assets will need certain parts. The system, again, has chosen standard parts. As you can see, they've chosen water valves and water pipes. But the staff also identified that GV001 is probably not the right part they need based on the size of the water pipe, right? So GV001 is probably a valve that's required for, or that's needed for 1.5 inches or 3 inches of a water pipe. The staff, the supervisor knows this. So what the supervisor is going to do is going to void this part, which is basically taking this part away or away from the work order. And they're now going to look up for the right part. By looking up on this lookup table, the staff or the supervisor has access to your part inventory, which lists all the parts that you currently have, the part type, the description, and more importantly, it gives you the supply of each one of those parts, right? So here you can see that GV002 is the part that they want to use. There's a supply of 8, so the supervisor knows that there's enough supply to finish this work order. The system does give a notification if the minimum threshold is reached, prompting the supervisor to order additional parts. Here, we're going to add GB002 and select that. By selecting this part, it's now going to prompt the supervisor to select the location where the field crew can go and pick those up. We also want to select the work order task that this part needs to be available for, right? So we want that to be available for the repair, the part bin, if that's what you have today, the quantities, and then the location name. So we are essentially giving clear instructions and guidelines to your field crew that there's one part, GB002, that's been issued, and you need to pick it up from bin 8 from the downtown warehouse. Now, by issuing this, it's been issued, right? The field crew can go and take that from the warehouse. There's also a comments tab, which allows a two-way communication between the field and the supervisor. It's beyond the standard task, beyond the standard operating instructions. We keep this as a running comment list between the field and the supervisor that's beyond your standard task. So things like, hey, crew, heavy traffic, take cones. Right. And this is two ways. So the field crew can also add those comments. Maybe there's materials that have not received, or maybe there's delays in construction. Maybe the contractor didn't show up. So this is a place where it keeps a running list and archives all the communication between the field and the supervisor. Now we've added assets. We've added everything that we need for the work order. The last thing to do is to assign this work order to a particular field crew. So we're going to select Pat Thomas. I do know that Pat is available. And we want Pat to start his work today. And we hit save. So now Pat has been assigned that task. And in the next scenario, Todd's going to walk through the Accela mobile, which is how the field crew can complete this work order out in the field.
All right, thanks, Animesh. So let's do a quick recap here. So from a water main break work order, the improved visualization shows asset locations, having the interactive map tracking issues and maintenance, being able to generate multiple work orders easily, and then standardizing the work order templates, which is a big, easy task to do as well. And then also the detailed organized parts and inventory assets that NMS showed you as well. So now let's take a look at our third scenario where we're going to look at mobile and reporting. So let's go ahead and jump into the mobile and see how your folks in the field are going to interact with the solution. And then we're going to tie it all back to some powerful and interactive reporting capabilities. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Todd.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to begin this mobile work order that Animesh has assigned to me. So I'm playing the role of Pat Thomas out in the field with my mobile device, and I'm going to begin this work that he's assigned to me. We can see on the left side is the work order that he's assigned to me, and on the right side is the map. This will be a GIS map of your choosing that you provide to your crew, and you can provide the layers that you want to give to them so that they can do their job most effectively. In this case, we're going to start the work. So I'm going to select the work order itself and begin the work. We can see, first of all, here, we've got our assets. We're going to select those first. So as we do that, we can see we have those two water lines that Animesh selected when he assigned this work order. I also can look up those assets if I need to add an additional one. I can choose that from the map or from a form. If I do so from a map, it's going to give me the ability to geolocate exactly where I am, as well as be able to see the available assets that I can look at in order to drill down into the field and see what assets I want to be looking at. In this case, as I go through the different assets, I can zoom in to the different assets I may want to select and potentially add to this particular work order. If I highlight, it will give me available assets. It tells me there's two water lines here, so I could select one of those and add to this particular work order. So it gives me the ability to add whatever assets I want to right from the map. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and continue through my work order, and I'm going to see the comments here that there is heavy take crew, heavy traffic, take cones. So we've got additional cones based on Animesh's instructions, and we've got our costs and parts. So if I need to edit any of these, I can do so by simply editing those out. Or if I need to, I can add extra resources as well. So I could look up those costs or look up those parts. Whatever I need to add to this particular work order, I can do so right in the field. I also can look and see my work order tasks. So as I complete the work, I can sign off on these and say that I've got different items that I'm adding here. So for the job site preparation, I can look and verify how long it took. You can see the estimate right there. It was estimated it would take 1 day, and it did take 1 day. and I can say that that task has been completed. I'll save that. We can go to the repair, verify how long that took. In this case, it took 2 days. And we can save that as well as say that the work has been completed and continue right through our job restoration. We have a day that that took us, and we can verify that and that that job is complete. And again, finally, that last one that Animesh added, where we need to do a site cleanup as an extra part of the template, that actually took 5 hours. So we're going to edit that, but we can say that has been completed as well. So we've saved all of our work that has been done. Now I have the ability to add anything I want when it comes to documents or pictures. I can take a photo, take a video, choose from my library, etc. In this case, I'm going to take a photo of the actual repair so we can see that there's the photo and what has been done. There's the repair that's been done. I can use this photo, take additional photos if I like, make up markup based on the color palette down below, anything I want to show. In this case, the valves we added, the line we added. We can see a time and date stamp on the lower right hand. It shows the date, but because it's on a mobile device, it will give you the stamp down to the second. It's also device agnostic, so I can use whatever device I would like. I just simply upload the app from the appropriate store, and we can see I've stored my photo here. I've seen my comments. I've got all of my work secured and verified everything that it took to get this work done. So in this case, I'm done with my mobile. I've done the work. It's complete. I can go back to my job and it's completed and take on my next task. In the next, I'm going to show, the reporting part that is so important. When we have all of this work, we want to be able to report all of the results of our work to not only internal staff, but also any kind of leadership that would like to see this, as well as being able to show this to the public if you would desire. In this case, we're looking at work orders. We can see the number of active, scheduled, or completed. We can see our locations on the map. We can do charts of pie charts, graph charts. We also can see an asset summary that's going to tell us how many assets we have, as well as their current value in a graphic or tabular data. And then we can see the asset types that we have. So with this kind of reporting, we can see our total assets, their current value, as well as what types. Mains, any assets that you have can be displayed here, as well as their value, not only in a chart selection, but also tabular data. So with that, we have very robust reporting called Accela Insights that gives insight into all of your data, all of your work, and all of the assets that you have as an organization. And with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Gary.
Thank you, Todd. So folks, as you can see from the mobile and reporting, being able to manage and update work orders anytime, choose multiple assets on the map, which is very important, quickly change task statuses with the toggles, and then at the end here, being able to see how you can really access the interactive dashboards. So that concludes today's presentation. We'd like to thank all of you for joining us. And if you are interested in seeing a deeper dive of the asset management system, please reach out to your Accela representative and we'll be happy to set up an appointment with you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.